Hi everyone, this is Sumit Agarwal. I am from MGM Medical College, Indore. Today we are starting a series of medical videos for undergraduate students under the hand MGM Tutorials. We will be dealing with you the major topics of your MBBS subjects like pathology, pharmacology, PSM, your medicine and surgery. Our aim is to simplify the topic for you to help a better understanding of your other subjects. We will be also sharing our homemade mnemonics that will help you to remember your topics easily. Today I will be starting with vasculitis. My other group members will be sharing with you other important topics. So let's start with vasculitis. So keeping a competitive approach in mind, let's start with vasculitis. Vasculitis on the basis of size of the vessel can be largely divided into three groups: large vessel vasculitis, medium vessel and the small vessel. In large vessel vasculitis, since the vessels are very large, the clot form cannot occlude the blood vessel completely. So the symptoms here is mainly due to the decreased blood flow and the inflammation of the blood vessel. Here the two main types, that is the giant cell arteritis and the Takayasu arteritis. Giant cell arteritis, also known as the temporal arteritis, because of its predilection for the temporal arteries. It also involves the ophthalmic arteries and the vertebral arteries. Because of the involvement of the temporal arteries and the ophthalmic arteries, the pain can be confused with the migraine. The similar pictures comes in with the Takayasu arteritis. The main difference between the two being the age group. Giant cell arteritis being more common in the elder age group, while the Takayasu arteritis being more common in the younger people. Takayasu arteritis most commonly involves the arch of the aorta. Since the arch of the aorta, the blood vessels leads to decreased blood flow to the upper limbs. Therefore, it is also known as the pulseless disease. A very potential MCQ, that which of the followings are granulomatous inflammation? These four conditions are granulomatous inflammation. You have to remember them in tips. That is giant cell arteritis, Takayasu arteritis, Church-Strauss syndrome and Wegener's granulomatosis. Now coming out to the medium vessel vasculitis, it's mainly two types, that's the polyarteritis nodosa and the Kawasaki disease. The main thing from here on is the involvement of the blood vessel, that which vascular bed are involved in which type of vasculitis. In polyarteritis nodosa, as the name suggests, polyarteritis, that it can involve any blood vessel throughout your blood body except its name, that is pulmonary arteries not involved. The most common site of the involvement is the kidney. It's an immune complex mediated damage and it's mostly associated with hepatitis B in 30% of the cases. The other form, the Kawasaki disease, also known as the mucocutaneous lymph node syndrome. I remember this with imagining a motorcycle, that whenever you ride a motorcycle, your heart rate start increasing. That's the most common site of the involvement in Kawasaki disease is your heart. Secondly, whenever you drive a motorcycle, you use your palms and soles. So the characteristic rashes are seen mostly in the palms and soles. Elsewhere, your whole body can be involved. The characteristic antibodies seen here is anti-endothelial cell antibodies. Since the medium vessels are involved, it can completely occlude your blood vessels. So it leads to thrombosis and infarction of the downstream organ. Due to the thrombosis, there is a back pressure which ultimately leads to rupture. So the main symptom here is due to thrombosis. The secondary symptoms can be due to the rupture of the blood vessels. Other point which I like to focus here is fibrinoid necrosis. In medium vessel vasculitis and in small vessel vasculitis, you can see fibrinoid necrosis. Moving on to the last part, that is the small vessel vasculitis. It involves three parts, that is the microscopic polyangiitis, Wegener's granulomatosis and Church-Strauss syndrome. Microscopic polyangiitis has been given a special name, that is the hypersensitivity vasculitis or leukocytoclastic vasculitis. Same with polyarteritis nodosa, it can involve any vascular bed in your body except that it spaces the upper respiratory tract. The characteristic antibody seen here is PNK, that is directed against the myeloperoxidase enzyme. Moving to the second, that is Wegener's granulomatosis. I remember Wegener's granulomatosis with the letter C. That is the antibody seen here as CNK. The involvement that you can see here is that C-shape involvement, that is the characteristic triad of upper respiratory tract, your lower respiratory tract, that is the lungs, and your kidneys. So here is my friend Tom, who often comes to me with the symptoms of upper respiratory tract like otitis media or earache, sinusitis, lower respiratory tract involvement like hemoptysis, the kidneys involvement like hematuria and proteinuria. The other C is the crescentic glomerulonephritis. Although in the earlier stages it shows focal segmental glomerulonephritis, but later on it becomes crescentic glomerulonephritis. The other C is for the treatment part, that is the cyclophosphamide and the corticosteroids. In the small vessel vasculitis, the main symptoms are mainly due to the rupture of the blood vessels, since the blood vessels are more fragile. The other symptoms can be due to the thrombosis and the infarction of the downstream organ. The last, that is Churg-Strauss syndrome. Churg-Strauss syndrome is also a granulomatous inflammation, as I dealt earlier. It's basically eosinophilia in your bloodstream. That's a potential MCQ. It's associated with other allergic conditions like asthma and others. It's also known as allergic vasculitis and meningitis. The characteristic antibody seen here is PNK. So that's all I have for vasculitis. Hope the video was informative. Do like our page on Facebook, that's MGM Tutorials, for further updates. Thank you.